my name is Jen and this is B's House of Plants, where we talk about all things houseplant and home design. Welcome back. It has been a hot minute since I've said that phrase, so I'm so excited to be back and to share with you an updated houseplant tour for 2021. It has been a full year since I last filmed and uploaded a houseplant tour, and I was rewatching that video recently, and I feel like this plant room looks completely different, which is actually really surprising because I don't think I added that many plants into my collection in the past year. I think I've bought like maybe 10 plants in the past year, but everything looks so drastically different because plants do as plants do, and they grow and they take up more space. So it was really fun for me to watch that video and to look at my plant room now and just see how different it looks. I'm very excited. I am a little bit rusty with houseplant names, so please excuse me if I do get some of them wrong. I'll try to make sure to always put the correct name on the screen for you. Alright, so without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so I wanted to very quickly do a pan of this room and show you what the plants look like without grow lights on, and then what it looks like with grow lights on. My grow light setup hasn't changed at all in the last year, and I always have my lights linked in the description box. This is an east facing window right here. However, it is an obstructive east facing window because there is a house right there, so there's not a whole lot of natural light, and the plants really do rely on the grow lights. Okay, I think I'm going to try to film this with the tripod so it's less shaky. This is probably my favorite section of the plant shelf because it looks like a curtain of plants. And if you watch last year's plant tour, none of these plants were really trailing all that much. They were all like about like right here, and now all of them are pretty much close to touching the floor or have already touched the floor, which is insane. So let's start over here. This is a Philodendron Brazil. This is actually currently in water. I haven't potted it up yet, although it has been ready and needed to be potted up for like 6 months, and I've just been avoiding doing it, but it is in water. I do give it nutrient water so it doesn't look too unhappy. And then right next to it in the middle, this is just a regular Philodendron HEDERACEUM, or a heart-shaped philodendron, just the regular green variety. This one is very close to touching the floor as well. As you can see though, this is the grow light right here. So this section of the plant looks nice and full, but as you get closer down to the bottom away from the grow light, the growth is getting a little bit smaller. So I do think this is due for chop. I'm going to chop it like right here and then root this bottom section and then just plant it back into the plant pot so that it looks a little bit fuller on top. You can't really see from this far away, but right here I do have one string of variegated string of hearts. It is quite long, but there's only one strand currently because I actually took all the other strands and coiled it on top so that it would be a little bit fuller at the top. I did repot my variegated string of hearts at the beginning of this year, and it was very difficult to repot. We'll like literally never do it again. Also do have a second pot of variegated string of hearts hiding in the back, and this is just from cuttings from this original string of hearts. I just put it in a different pot. And then finally over here, this is a curtain of Philodendron Micans. So you remember I have two Philodendron Micans. I have this one, which is the one that has always been a trailing Philodendron Micans. And this one was the Micans that was actually staked up on a pole, and I loved it. But I recently decided that it was long overdue for a repot. So like a week ago, I was like, I'm gonna repot it. And it didn't go that well. I honestly just left it too long, and too much of the root system was growing out of the bottom of the plant. And so when I repotted it, I ended up yanking out like a huge part of the root system, and the plant is going through a little bit of shock. So it's currently just recuperating in some water, but eventually I am going to stick it back up onto a pole because I do like how that looks quite a lot. Okay, moving on to the other side of this top shelf. Next to the Philodendron micans, this is my Philodendron Cream Splash. I have like so many pots of Cream Splash. I think it's my favorite variety of the like variegated Philodendron HEDERACEUM. And then tucked behind, where you can't really see it, I also have a variegated FICUS elastica, or variegated rubber plant tree. This one is in LECA, needs to be flushed, don't judge, and it's doing really well in LECA. Does it look great? And then right next to that Philodendron Cream Splash, I have this Pearls and Jade Pothos. I do have a video on all the different varieties of pothos. If you haven't seen this already, this one is doing really well and it's trailing. I feel like this variety of pothos is one of the slower growing varieties of pothos, but still looks great. And then right next to that Pearls and Jade Pothos is a very dehydrated Philodendron BIRKIN. I was just out of town for like over a week, so some of my plants are looking a little bit sad because of that. So Philodendron BIRKIN. So this BIRKIN tends to only really grow for me when it's in like very high humidity, and I can't really give it that right now, so I just kind of leave it, tuck it in the back, and it can do whatever it wants. Alright, so next up, this is yet another Philodendron Cream Splash. This is just another pot of it. Really like this one a lot. And then this right here is my Scindapsus silvery Ann, or it was sold to me as a Scindapsus silvery Ann, and the original leaves when I bought the plant did look very silvery, like a silvery Ann. However, as it's grown, I don't really think it's all that silvery. It kind of just looks like a regular Scindapsus pictus, but either way, it is very pretty. This is also the plant that I transferred into LECA in the video where I was doing like a how-to and how to transfer your plants from soil to LECA. So if you're wondering how the plant is doing, it's doing very well. It is quite long now. It is past the bottommost row of shelving. However, there is this huge section right here where it's pretty bare, so I think it's due for a little bit of a chop pretty soon, and then I can propagate and plant it back into the pot so that the top looks a bit fuller. And then right over here where you can't see, I have some propagations for variegated string of hearts, and this container is from the Hilton Carter Target collection that I did a video on. But yeah, this is also like definitely ready to be potted up. I don't really want to do it. Okay, while I have this framing, I'm also going to tell you some of the plants over here in this second shelf. So right here in the back, this is a Mandula Pothos. This is the one in soil. I have two. The one in LECA is doing better, like most of my plants in LECA are. And then behind this curtain of Philodendron Cream Splash, I have a Hoya Crimson Princess. You can tell it's a princess because the variegation is on the outside. All this pink means new growth, so it's doing very well. It probably needs a repot, if I'm being honest, but once again, don't really want to do it, so it's just going to be there for now. And then behind here, this is a cutting of the Philodendron BRANDTIANUM, or Philodendron BRANDI. Also needs to be potted up. Am I going to do it? No. Right next to it, this is a snake plant. I really don't know what the name of this snake plant is, so I'm going to have to look it up for you. But it's in this cute panda pot that I like a lot. And then now to this setup over here, this is a burrow's tail, and as you can see, the new growth is getting a little bit elongated because it's getting long and it's growing away from the light source and away from the grow light. But there's nothing I can really do about that. It's like as close to this grow light as I can possibly get it. And it is putting out new growth in the center, so hopefully it's going to look a little bit fuller in a second, and I'm excited about that. Okay, I think this is the angle I usually film all of my intro clips at. So right here is the Scindapsus trebly Moonlight. It looks exactly the same as it did a year ago. It has not put up a single new growth. I chopped it at the beginning of this year. The roots are, you know, definitely ready to be potted up, and I will do it soon. I'm going to put it in LECA because I have a Scindapsus jade that's doing really well in LECA, so hopefully I'll put out a new growth soon. And then behind here is a Pilea peperomioides that I'm not going to zoom in on for you because it looks like crap. I've never been able to successfully grow that plant. It always looks bad, so it's just there. And then right here in this IKEA container, I have the regular Syngonium, just a regular green variety of Syngonium, and all of these are in LECA, by the way. And this is a Peperomia obtusifolia Golden Gate, and then next to it is the Syngonium Moonshine. I feel like on camera the Syngonium Moonshine and the regular green Syngonium looks like identical, but the Moonshine is a little bit more of like a cool toned green, and the regular green Syngonium is more like a warm toned green, but they do look very, very similar. Next to it, this is my Ficus elastica TINEKE or variegated rubber plant. This one is in soil, and it's doing well in soil, so I'm just going to leave it, although I do think the one that is in LECA does grow a little bit quicker. And then the section that you all want to see, so let me move the camera closer. Okay, so over here, this is my formerly reverted philodendron pink princess. I bought it as a philodendron burgundy princess from Gabriella Plants, and then I chopped it, and I feel like the new growth does have a substantial amount of pink on it, so I really don't think it can be considered as a reverted plant anymore. And it's doing really, really well. It is in LECA, and this is my second Mandula pothos. This is the one in LECA. It used to be in a self-watering pot in soil and ended up with really, really bad root rot, so I like cut all of the existing old root system off, water propagated it, and then put it into LECA, and now it's thriving and doing so much better. Behind here, this is a rickrack cactus. It's doing really well. It needs a lot of light. I am gonna be honest, I do think this rickrack cactus might have a little bit of root rot that I really need to unpot and take care of, because root rot's one of those things that you need to deal with as soon as possible, but I've also been just putting it off. Okay, so obviously my pride and joy over here, this is my Philodendron Splendid, also known as the Philodendron melanochrysum crossed with VARIEGATED. It's growing up my wall now because I could not put in an extension quick enough. I am going to put in an extension, but I also do need to chop this plant. It's just getting too tall. I can't move it anymore. It's just so scary to chop it, and I want the leaves to get bigger. And obviously, you know, it takes time to start growing again once you chop it. So will need to be done very soon. I am avoiding doing it though. This is the plant that is in hydroponics, deep water culture. I have a whole video on deep water culture and me putting this plant in deep water culture if you are interested. The pump is off right now because I am filming, but otherwise the pump stays on 24/7. I do think deep water culture is a huge pain in the butt, but the growth looks good. So that's that. Okay, let's move on. Okay, because very quickly, the two plants over here, this is just a regular golden pothos. It has touched the floor at this point, needs to be chopped, and this is a Wally Grow planter. It's in LECA. I do like the Wally Grow planters for LECA. Not a huge fan of putting soil plants in there because it is a self-watering planter, and I generally don't like self-watering planters for soil plants. And then right here on this stool is a Dracaena. I don't know if we ever really decided what variety of Dracaena this is, but it is a Dracaena, and it's doing well. Okay, so now let's move on to this bottom row. This is a Peperomia frost that needs to be repotted and needs to be watered. I think it's actually doing really well considering how much I neglect it. And then over here on top of this box, this is a Hoya compacta. I've had this plant going on 2 years now, and I do think it actually has grown quite a bit since the time I've had it, but these grow so slow that it's definitely still like very bare looking in the pot. And then over here, this is my Snow Queen Pothos. It's really hit a groove recently. It's been putting out a lot of new growth this summer. It looks great. Very happy about it. And then this is my air plant. This is a Tillandsia xerographica. It is very, very low maintenance. I soak it every once in a while, and it just kind of exists. And then over here, yet another pot of Philodendron Cream Splash. I really do like the Cream Splash quite a lot. And this one is in LECA as well. And then right here at the edge of the frame, this is my Enjoy Pothos. I think this is definitely the slowest growing variety of pothos that I have. Also need to like put in a pot. But yeah. Okay, so behind here, you can see this is a Monstera Stanleya. It had root rot a while back, and then so I had to chop it, repropagate, put it in LECA. It threw out this like huge runner recently, so I think it's like looking for something to climb up on or crawl across. So I do need to do that at some point. But yeah, there it is. I don't think that this set of leaves has too much variegation, but it is the variegated variety. Okay, I'm just gonna put this down on the ground for now. And then this is my Philodendron Pink Princess, the one I bought as a Pink Princess. I do think this one has more pink than the other one, and it's a little bit of a lighter pink than the other Philodendron Pink Princess I have, and I think that comes down mostly to the age of a plant. The older the plant is, I think the pink kind of turns a little bit kind of like darker, and the leaf in general turns a little bit of a darker color. Yeah, okay, so in front, this is my Scindapsus Jade. It is in LECA. It's doing very, very well in LECA. It's like trailing a lot, and it's quite long, almost touching the ground now. I don't think I'm going to chop this one yet. I think I'm going to let it grow a little bit more. And then this is another section of Philodendron Micans. This came from the Micans that was climbing up the moss pole. It's just kind of like all the baby leaves, so I decided to separate them and put them in a baby container. It still looks a little bit sad from the shock of getting basically its entire root system ripped out. Okay, right here, this is a Hoya Crimson Queen. It's a queen because the variegation's on the outside. Also, very desperately needs to be repotted, but it's doing well overall. And then right here, I'm very proud of this plant. This is my prayer plant. And remember the Instagram I made of this prayer plant at the beginning of this year or at the end of last year? It was looking pretty rough for a while there. So I'm really proud that it's turned around and it looks so nice and full now. And then right at the end, you can't see it, is my Raven ZZ. Such a slow growing plant. I think it grew like one stalk this entire year. And it took like 6 months to turn black. Just like generally kind of unimpressed with the Raven ZZ. I feel like a regular ZZ is kind of a better plant. Okay, and then now I also have another set of grow lights on this bottom shelf right here. So I actually have some floor plants that I can show you. Welcome to the floor. Okay, at the end, that is a Rhaphidophora tetrasperma. I took some propagations at the end of last year, and they rooted up fine, but then after I put it back into LECA, the whole pot looked like it might have like had a pest issue, so I just threw it out because I really did not want to deal with a pest outbreak at that point, or at any point really. And then right here, this is a regular Ficus elastica, regular rubber plant, a pink Syngonium, which is actually putting out quite a few new growth right now, which is very, very exciting. And then next to it, this is a Syngonium Randy in a fabric grow pot. And I thought the thing about a fabric grow pot was that the roots were supposed to like prune itself. I haven't found that to be true because the roots, you see, growing out the bottom of the felt bag, which is not good. That's definitely going to rip off when I have to repot this plant, and that's not exciting at all. And then over here, my variegated umbrella plant, doing really well, putting out new growth. Regular ZZ plant. This one's from IKEA actually. I do think I like the regular ZZ more than I like the Raven ZZ. This is just a pot of Marble Queen pothos. It used to be hanging up on my window, but it actually fell one day and now I'm too scared to put it back up. In the front right here, this is a Jose Bueno that I had to cut recently because when I was putting it on a pole, I tied the garden twist tie too tightly and it actually like severed the plant. So I ended up just chopping it. And this is in LECA right now. And over here, I don't know if you've seen this plant recently. So in this pot there is both a Monstera Thai Constellation, the one from NSC Tropicals. At the end of last year in December, my Thai Constellation had root rot, and it was really, really scary because I tried to salvage as much of the root system as possible, but it kept rotting. And so eventually I ended up cutting off all of the old root system, like basically deadheaded the plant, and then putting it in water to let it regrow. I also, because I really wanted to make sure that this root system grew, I actually ended up also putting an air stone in there so it pumps oxygen into the water, and I think that did the trick. It grew a lot of roots and it's now actively putting out new leaves again. So in the last like 6 months or so, it's put out this leaf right here, and it just unfurled this leaf in the past couple of days. And then in the same pot, I also have a Monstera Albo, which I think I've only mentioned a couple of times because this Monstera Albo and I have a very contentious history. I lost a lot of nodes, and it just kept, like the stem just kept rotting, and kind of as a last resort, I threw it into water and it actually grew roots. It like stopped rotting just in time and it's putting out new growth now. I can't tell you how much of a sigh of relief that is for me. It unfurled this leaf about a week ago, or probably like 2 weeks ago at this point, and then it just unfurled this leaf right here, and both leaves look like they have a good amount of variegation. So excited, so relieved that Monstera Albo grew. So yeah, it's still in water with an air stone in it, and I do give it nutrient water, the same nutrient water that I give my plants in LECA. I'm still debating on whether or not I'm going to put it in LECA or if I'm just gonna leave it because I'm a little bit scared to disturb it because it's doing well right now. Okay, so now let's do this bench. This is the last of the plants in this plant room. Okay, so over here on the right side, you can see my Philodendron pedatum. This looks like a completely different plant than how it looked last year. It has grown so much, and as you can see, the leaf shape also is definitely much more mature now, and it's been so fun to see the progress. It does make me want a Philodendron Florida Beauty a lot, but I am happy with this. I do like it a lot. And then right here, you can barely see it right here. This is my Philodendron Milano Chrysum. I've been having a lot of issues with this one putting out ripped leaves. I think it might be a little bit of a humidity issue, but it's only happening like every other leaf, so I'm not really sure what that's about. I think this one might need to get chopped pretty soon too, but I would really love to see some bigger leaves before I end up chopping it. And then right here in the front, this is my Philodendron Rio from Gabriella Plants. This variegation is so beautiful. I did take a cutting of this plant recently. It's right there in the back on the windowsill. So I'm hoping that the variegation stays strong through the cutting as well. It is getting to the top of this pole, so I might need to put it on a different pole or something at some point. But yeah, it looks good. It's still in its original pot that I got it from Gabriella Plants. Haven't repotted it at all or anything like that. And then right next to it, that is my variegated Syngonium. So I did a video at the end of last year where I took a bunch of cuttings. So those cuttings all rooted up just in water, just fine. And then I planted it back into the pot, added an extension on the pole. And then if you remember, I also had a second variegated Syngonium that was a little bit smaller. I also just added all of that back into the pole to make like one bigger plant. Yeah, it's doing really well. This plant struggles a little bit whenever it gets really hot outside, and it's been quite hot here in California, so it did lose quite a few leaves during that heat wave, but otherwise it's doing good. All right, now here is a mini lightning bolt jewel orchid. It's teeny tiny. This grew out of my other lightning bolt jewel orchid and I ended up separating it, and I'm really glad I did, because my other lightning bolt jewel orchid, this is it. It's looking real sad right now. So what happened was that I overwatered it, and then so to counteract that overwatering, I took it out of the cloche to let it dry out, and then I forgot that I took it out of the cloche, and then all of the leaves died. So I have the stem left. I put it in moss and a little bit in a Ziploc bag, and you can see, I don't know if you can see, focus. Okay, well, I feel like you can kind of see, I just put the whole stem in moss, and there are like 4 different growth points now, and they're all trying to put out like mini leaves. So this will make it come back eventually. It just looks a smidge sad right now. And then speaking of sad, okay, let me go on the other side. So this is my philodendron. I honestly can't remember what philodendron this is right now. I will put it on the screen for you. This one has come back and died like 3 different times now, but the roots are in water right now. It is putting out a new growth point here at the bottom. It'll come back eventually. This plant always makes a comeback. It just looks really sad right now. Maybe if I can find one, I'll put a picture of when it was doing really well in for you, because that was doing really well for a really long time. And then right here in the front, this is the section of the Philodendron Brandi that's still in soil. Doing better now than it was before. Still not all that great, but it is doing better. And then right behind that is my Philodendron HASTATUM, also known as the silver sword. I believe this is the wide form, but yeah. And then right here in the front, this is one of the sections of my jewel orchid. This is the Ludicea discolor, and this one is the section that's in soil, doing so well, putting out so much new growth. I need to repot this soon, because like, look, oh, you see here, it's trying to put out a new growth point right here, and I can't have that, so I need to take care of that soon. And then the other section of the same plant, this is in LECA. Probably should put in a bigger container. It's like growing out really far. But look how much new growth this is. Doesn't that look so good? It's so big. This is the other section. But yeah, probably need to put this in a bigger pot soon. This is that Erectica plant. I got it a really long time ago. I kind of ignored it. It actually already grew a whole stalk once and had a leaf on it. But then it got too top heavy, so then it broke off. So now that this is growing, I'm gonna need to make sure to put it on a pole or something before it gets too top heavy again. I really honestly ignored this plant, and during that heat wave it started growing. So I think it just needs to get really warm and really hot. I just realized you probably couldn't see any of that because the grow light wasn't on and it was a little bit backlit. So I just turned on the grow light. Okay, over here, this is my Hoya curtsy eye. I bought this at the end of last year. One of the only new additions to my plant collection. It's grown so much. It's still in the original container that I got it in from Logi's. It's doing so well. And then this is the watermelon peperomia. It's doing okay. This is one of the two that I have that are still alive. This one's in soil, the other one's in LECA. And then here, so this is the top cutting of my Jose Bono that I accidentally severed. You can see when I severed it over here. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. But when I severed it, it kind of cut off a lot of the nutrients. So the new leaf came out like really wrinkly like this. And the newest leaf was like teeny tiny. So hopefully it'll grow out some new roots and be okay. And then also currently in water, sadly, this is my Aglaonema chocolate. It was in LECA. It ended up with root rot. I think it just got too dry and then I put water in it, so then it got like wet and all the roots ended up rotting. So it's in water right now. Hopefully that grows. And then over here, this is my Stramanthe Trio Star. Still doing well, still in the same pot. Probably due for a repot at some point too, but honestly it looks fine, so I'm gonna leave it alone. Okay, quick pit stop at this DIY light box situation that I built. I do have a video on it, so I only have a few plants in here. This is a cutting of a golden pothos. This is my Centiscantia. Could be doing better. And this is a cutting of a Peperomia obtusifolia. This is actually the full-size plant that the cutting came from. And then over here is my Philodendron Brandi that is in LECA. I'm gonna combine this section of the Brandi and the cutting that's in water soon. I'll do it eventually. Okay, this is my bedroom, so I'm giving you a once-over pan. This is an east-facing window, and all of these plants just get natural lighting, and they are doing quite well. Right here on top, this is my Philodendron Brazil. So you can see I have it looped once over here because it was getting really long, and this section wasn't growing leaves because it was like over here and wasn't getting enough light, but it's doing really well now. I think this one is my favorite Brazil, and it actually does quite well, despite the fact that it gets neglected because it's in a hanging pot, which makes it hard to water. So this bench right here is from IKEA. So on it I have, this is my Rhaphidophora decursiva. This is a new-ish leaf. This plant won't give me new leaves despite the fact that it has like a really crazy extensive root system. There is like a new growth point like right there, but it hasn't put out a new leaf in forever, and it lost the last 2 leaves, so I don't know. And then next to it, this is my Philodendron gloriosum, doing better than the last time you saw it. This is the other section of the gloriosum over here. So yeah, I think this plant is doing okay now. And then on this platter, this is my Calathea orbifolia, much smaller than the last time you saw it. It lost a lot of leaves, but these leaves look healthy, and the old leaves were starting to look really raggedy, so I rather it starts over but actually looks healthy. And then this is the oxalis from Gabriella Plants. It did die back quite a bit during winter, but it came back. That's what it looks like so far. Over here, this is my fiddle leaf fig, this section that's in LECA. I did let it dry out too much, so it lost a couple leaves, and then like the top half of this leaf died off. And this is the new-ish leaf, but the root system looked okay when I pulled it out, so I think I'll be okay. And then this is just a neon pothos. On the windowsill, you push the curtain back here, there's a Ziploc bag, and this Ziploc bag is actually my Philodendron gloriosum. It's actually doing really well in this Ziploc bag. All 4 of those leaves grew within the past like 2-3 months. So I'm honestly just gonna leave it in there. And then this is another section of the Peperomia obtusifolia Golden Gate, watermelon, peperomia. And then this is another variety of peperomia. I can't remember the name of this one right now, but it's doing okay. I don't think that it loves that it's in terracotta because I think it dries out too much. Cebu Blue, Pothos, variegated string of pearls. This one was by a grow light. I'm doing really well, but then I think I let it dry out too much one time, so then a lot of the pearls in the top died off. So I just took the whole thing and coiled it around the top, and hopefully this makes the top fuller and it kind of roots itself and grows a little bit better. And then this is a Scindapsus exotica that has this like very long runner as well. And then that is my other oxalis that went dormant for winter and then just like never really grew back. So that's okay. So I'm just gonna give you a quick pan. This is the last corner of my bedroom that has plants in it. I have 2 big plants. This is my big fiddle leaf fig that's in soil. These 2 leaves are new. And then this is my Monstera deliciosa. This is a new leaf, just unfurled. It's like wobbling, so I need to like tie it to the pole. And then down here on the ground, that is a snake plant. I don't really remember the name of the snake plant off the top of my head, so I'm going to have to look it up and tell you later. This section just decided to grow really tall in comparison to the rest of the plant. And if you can see, there's a water bottle there on my monstera. It's because I'm trying to submerge that aerial root and to get it to grow. And then up here, this is just like a mixed bag of pothos. I put like every kind of pothos in there. This is like the Snow Queen. I have some Enjoy back here. Yeah, so that's hanging right there. And then over here, last pothos. This is the Jade Pothos from Gabriella Plants, but this one actually ended up producing some natural sport variegation. So some of the leaves on this plant actually look more like our Marble Queen. So isn't that fun? Alright, so that's all I have for you today. We made it all the way through. Thank you so much for watching. If you like it, thumbs up, subscribe, and I will be talking to you real soon. Bye.